The vast darkness of space loomed, punctuated only by the distant glimmers of stars and the oppressive silhouettes of Zorth warships. Their biotechnological hulls glistened like polished obsidian, reflecting an eerie glow. Overlord Exultar stood on the bridge of his flagship, a cruel smile playing on his lips. "Prepare for invasion," he commanded, his voice a chilling monotone. "Earth will fall just like the others." But Earth was ready. Hidden beneath the seemingly tranquil surface, humanity's finest minds had been preparing for this moment. Commander Alex Marshall, a veteran tactician, stood in the command center, eyes fixed on the holographic display of the approaching Zorth fleet. "Think again, Zoltar," he murmured, his fingers dancing over the control panel. "You're in for a surprise." The first wave of Zorth ships breached the atmosphere, their confidence unshaken. They expected easy prey, but were met with a fierce barrage of guerrilla tactics. EMP weapons, hastily adapted from old tech, disrupted their sophisticated systems. The sleek invaders faltered, their bioluminescent skins flickering. "Lieutenant Kim, report," Alex barked into his comm. "Initial strike successful, Commander," came the reply. "They're disoriented, but we need more time to deploy the full defense grid." Alex nodded, his mind racing. Every second counted. He turned to Dr. Elena Vasquez, the brilliant bioengineer, whose discovery might just turn the tide. "Elena, any progress on the frequency?" Dr. Vasquez pushed her glasses up, her eyes alight with a mix of fear and determination. "We've isolated the frequency that disrupts their regenerative abilities, but we need to calibrate it for our weapons. Give me an hour." "Make it 30 minutes," Alex replied, his tone brooking no argument. "We don't have an hour." Outside, Lieutenant David Kim piloted his craft with unparalleled skill, weaving through the enemy formation. His maneuvers were precise, almost artistic, as he baited the Zorth into traps set by ground forces. Explosions lit up the night sky, a stark contrast to the serene stars beyond. "Commander," Kim's voice crackled through the comm. "We are holding them off, but their reinforcements are closing in fast." Alex clenched his fists. "Understood. Hold your position. Vasquez, we need those weapons now." In the makeshift lab, Dr. Vasquez and her team worked feverishly, calibrating emitters and testing radiation frequencies. Sparks flew, and the air was thick with tension. Finally, she held up a modified emitter. "This should work," she said, her voice edged with hope and exhaustion. Alex grabbed the emitter, turning to his team. "Deploy these to all units immediately. We're about to give the Zorth a taste of their own medicine." The next wave of attacks began, this time with humanity's new weapons in play. As the modified emitters were activated, beams of concentrated radiation pierced the Zorth ships. Their regenerative abilities faltered, and for the first time, the invincible invaders found themselves vulnerable. "Direct hit," Kim shouted, a rare grin spreading across his face. "Their systems are failing." But the Zorth were not easily deterred. Overlord Exultar, witnessing the unexpected resistance, snarled, "Increase the pressure. Crush them." The battle intensified. Zorth forces regrouped, their tactics evolving rapidly. Yet humanity's resilience shone through. Soldiers adapted on the fly, using their smaller, nimbler craft to outmaneuver the Zorth behemoths. "Commander," Vasquez called over the din, "we've got another problem. The Zorth are adapting faster than we anticipated. We need to keep pushing forward, find new ways to exploit their weaknesses." Alex nodded, his mind already working on the next step. "We need allies," he said. "Reach out to the enslaved species. Tell them what we've discovered. If we can unite them, we might stand a chance." Communications officers sent out encrypted messages, hoping to spark a rebellion across the galaxy. Within hours, responses began to trickle in. Aliens who had long suffered under Zorth tyranny saw a glimmer of hope. In the thick of the chaos, Lieutenant Kim undertook a perilous mission to deliver the new weaponry to Allied forces. His craft, loaded with modified emitters, zipped through enemy lines, dodging fire with breathtaking agility. "Almost there," Kim muttered, sweat beading on his forehead. "Just a little further." Back on the ground, Alex coordinated the defense, his orders sharp and unwavering. "Hold the line," he urged his troops. "We can't let them break through." The tide began to turn. The coalition of humans and newly allied aliens pressed their advantage, exploiting every weakness. For the first time in centuries, the Zorth felt fear. As dawn broke, the remnants of the Zorth fleet retreated, licking their wounds. Humanity had done the impossible. They had faced the Invincible and emerged victorious, at least for now. "Commander Marshall," a voice crackled over the comm. "We've intercepted a transmission. The Zorth are planning something big. We need to strike now, or everything we've fought for will be lost." Chapter 2: Discovering the Weakness. Dr. Elena Vasquez stared intently at the glowing screen in front of her. "This frequency could turn the tide of the war, but we need to act fast," she murmured. The lab around her buzzed with frantic energy, scientists and engineers working tirelessly to transform her discovery into a weapon capable of defeating the Zorth. Commander Alex Marshall entered the lab, his presence a blend of urgency and resolve. "Elena, how soon can we have a prototype ready?" he asked, his voice cutting through the background noise. "Give us 48 hours, she replied, not looking up from her work. "We're close, but we need to make sure it's stable and effective." Marshall nodded, turning his attention to the makeshift war room set up in the adjacent area. He was coordinating with representatives from various alien species, each one a former victim of the Zorth's iron grip. "We need to unite. Together, we stand a chance," he addressed the diverse group, his tone firm yet inspiring. The room murmured in hesitant agreement. The memories of their oppression were fresh, but so was the flicker of hope ignited by humanity's unexpected resilience. Meanwhile, Lieutenant David Kim was preparing for a mission that could change everything. "You sure about this, Kim?" a fellow pilot asked, eyeing the packed weapon crates. "Absolutely," Kim responded, fastening his flight suit. "These new weapons could give us the edge we need. I'm just the delivery guy." As Kim's ship launched into the dark expanse of space, the tension was palpable. The journey to the front lines was fraught with danger, but his resolve was unshakable. Midway through the trip, alarms blared. A Zorth patrol had intercepted his course. "Initiate evasive maneuvers," Kim barked to his co-pilot, hands flying over the controls. The ship weaved and twisted, dodging the incoming fire. Kim's heart pounded, but his mind was clear. He had to succeed. Back on Earth, the lab was a hive of activity. Dr. Vasquez and her team worked with laser focus. "Increase the output by 5%, she instructed, her eyes never leaving the data streaming across her screen. The first prototype was finally ready for testing. In a secured testing facility, a captured Zorth drone awaited. "Activating the device in 3, 2, 1, Vasquez said. The room held its breath. A beam of concentrated radiation hit the drone, causing it to convulse and collapse. Cheers erupted, but Vasquez remained calm. "This is just the beginning," she reminded them. Commander Marshall wasted no time. The successful test was the breakthrough they needed. He called for a meeting with the alien representatives. "We have a weapon. Now we need to use it strategically," he declared. Maps and battle plans covered the table as they devised a coordinated attack. Lieutenant Kim's ship emerged from hyperspace, battered but intact. "We made it," he breathed, relief washing over him as he landed at the front lines. The new weapons were quickly distributed among the coalition forces. The first real test came quickly. A Zorth battle group entered their sector, unaware of the surprise awaiting them. "All units, prepare to engage," Marshall's voice commanded over the comms. The battle was fierce, but the tide turned in the coalition's favor. The new radiation weapons proved devastatingly effective. Zorth ships faltered, their once invincible defenses crumbling. For the first time, the coalition experienced a decisive victory. In the aftermath, the mood was jubilant but tempered with caution. "This is a major win, but we can't get complacent," Marshall warned his team. "The Zorth will adapt. We need to stay one step ahead." Dr. Vasquez continued her work, refining and enhancing the weapons. "We need to ensure they can't counteract this frequency," she explained to her colleagues. Her mind was always one step ahead, anticipating the next move. Meanwhile, news of the victory spread. Enslaved species across the galaxy began to stir with hope and defiance. Messages of support and requests to join the coalition flooded in. The once fractured groups were coming together, united by a common cause. However, the Zorth were not idle. Overlord Exaltar, enraged by the unexpected setback, intensified their efforts to crush the uprising. "Deploy additional forces," he commanded. "We will not be defeated by these primitives." Lieutenant Kim, now back on Earth, met with Commander Marshall. "The weapons work, but the Zorth are regrouping." "We need to keep pushing," he said, his determination undiminished. Marshall nodded. "We will. The next phase is crucial. We take the fight to them, disrupt their command structure, and liberate more planets. We need to hit them hard and fast." A heavily fortified Zorth command center. As preparations began, an unexpected transmission from within the Zorth ranks promised valuable intelligence, but at a potentially deadly cost. "Lieutenant Kim, hold on tight, we're not out of this yet." Lieutenant David Kim's hands danced over the controls of his ship, sweat beading on his forehead as he weaved through the Zorth patrol. Plasma bolts zipped past the hull, each one a potential end to his mission. "Hold on tight," he barked to his crew. "We're not out of this yet." With a final daring maneuver, Kim's ship shot past the last Zorth vessel, entering the safety of a nearby asteroid field. The crew let out a collective breath of relief. They had succeeded. The new radiation-based weapons were now in the hands of the coalition forces, a critical step toward turning the tide of the war. Back at the coalition base, Commander Alex Marshall received the news of Kim's successful delivery with a grim smile. "Good work, Kim. Now let's put these weapons to use." The coalition, now bolstered by the new technology, launched a series of strategic strikes against the Zorth. The first target was a supply depot on the planet of Karath. The operation needed precision, and the coalition forces executed it flawlessly. As the radiation weapons hit their mark, the once invincible Zorth troops faltered, their regenerative abilities disrupted. It was a sight many had thought impossible. Zorth falling in battle. "Stay sharp, everyone," Alex ordered over the comms. "We can't afford any mistakes." The victory at Karath was a significant morale boost. Alien species that had lived under the Zorth's iron fist for centuries now saw a glimmer of hope. Rebellions sparked across several planets, and the coalition grew stronger with each new ally. During a rare, quiet moment, Alex stood on a balcony overlooking the coalition base. The distant stars, a reminder of the vast galaxy they fought to liberate. His thoughts drifted to his family, lost to a Zorth raid years ago. Their faces, their laughter, it fueled his resolve. He clenched his fists, vowing silently that no one else would suffer as he had. While the coalition celebrated their victories, the Zorth were not idle. Reports came in of Zorth forces adapting to the new threat, modifying their technology to counter the radiation weapons. Dr. Elena Vasquez and her team worked tirelessly to stay ahead, innovating new methods to enhance the coalition's arsenal. "These upgrades need to be implemented immediately," Elena insisted during a strategy meeting. "The Zorth are fast learners, and we can't let them regain the upper hand." Lieutenant Kim's ship had barely cooled down from its last mission when he was sent out again, this time to deliver the upgraded weapons. The stakes were higher, the risks greater, but Kim's determination never wavered. The Coalition's next target was the planet of Eldara, home to a major Zorth command center. The plan was ambitious, a coordinated attack involving ground forces and air support. Alex, leading the charge, directed the operation with surgical precision. The Coalition's forces moved like a well-oiled machine, each strike weakening the Zorith's grip. In the heat of battle, Kim's squadron provided crucial air support, their upgraded fighters outmaneuvering the Zorith drones. On the ground, Elena and her team deployed new tech that neutralized Zorith defenses, allowing Coalition troops to advance. "Keep pushing forward," Alex's voice rang out. "We have them on the run." By the end of the day, the Coalition stood victorious. The Zorith command center was in ruins, and Eldara was free. It was a pivotal moment, proving that the Coalition could win not just skirmishes, but major battles. But the Zorith were relentless. Angered and desperate, they launched a massive counterattack against the Coalition's base on the liberated planet of Vega Prime. The assault was swift and brutal, testing the Coalition's defenses to their limits. Alex marshaled his forces, coordinating a defense that was as tenacious as it was strategic. "Hold the line. We can't let them break through." Elena, in the command center, worked alongside the tactical team, deploying new defensive measures. Kim's squadron took to the skies, engaging the enemy with unmatched ferocity. Despite the overwhelming odds, the Coalition held strong. The Zorith, expecting an easy victory, found themselves outmaneuvered and outgunned. As the battle raged on, the Coalition's resilience shone through. Just as the tide seemed to be turning, an urgent message came through. "Commander Marshall, we've detected a massive energy buildup in the Zorith fleet. They're preparing something big." Alex's heart pounded. "Prepare for emergency maneuvers. This isn't over yet. This is our last stand. Victory or extinction." Commander Alex Marshall's voice rang with determination as he addressed the Coalition forces. The diverse assembly of humans and alien allies, united by a common enemy, prepared for their boldest mission yet, the assault on the Zorith homeworld. The Coalition's flagship, a repurposed Zorith cruiser, hummed with energy. Its halls, once cold and sterile, were now alive with the bustling activity of final preparations. Engineers and scientists worked side by side, fine-tuning the experimental weapons designed by Dr. Elena Vasquez. Lieutenant David Kim, now a seasoned pilot and leader, oversaw the squadrons of fighters readying for launch. In the strategy room, a holographic display projected the Zorith homeworld and its formidable defenses. "Their main reactor is our primary target," Alex said, pointing to the pulsating heart of the display. "Taking it out will cripple their power grid and open a path for our ground forces." David nodded. "We'll need precise coordination. The Zorith will throw everything they have at us." Dr. Vasquez, adjusting her glasses, added, "Our new radiation weapons will give us an edge, but we can't rely solely on them. Adaptability will be our strength." The room fell silent as each member internalized their role in the impending battle. Alex broke the silence. "Let's show them what true resilience looks like." The fleet emerged from hyperspace, the Zorith homeworld looming ominously ahead. Alarms blared, and the Zorith defense fleet mobilized instantly. Alex's voice was calm, yet firm over the comms. "All units, engage at will. Focus on disabling their shield generators." David's squadron darted forward, weaving through the initial barrage of plasma fire. "Stay tight and keep moving," he shouted, maneuvering his fighter with expert precision. The Coalition ships unleashed a coordinated assault, their new weapons disrupting Zorith systems and creating openings in their defenses. Inside the flagship, Alex monitored the battle, issuing orders and adapting strategies on the fly. "We need to punch through their line. Kim, can you clear a path for the bombers?" "On it, Commander," David replied, his voice steady despite the chaos. He led a daring charge, his squadron's fighters cutting through Zorth ships with surgical precision. The bombers followed, releasing their payloads on the shield generators. Explosions rippled through the enemy fleet, weakening their defenses. "Ground team, move out," Alex ordered as the shields flickered and fell. Dropships launched from the coalition fleet, descending towards the Zorth surface. The ground team, a mix of human soldiers and alien warriors, braced for impact. Among them, Alex felt the weight of the mission. They were the spearhead of the attack, tasked with reaching the reactor. The dropships touched down amidst a battlefield of biotechnological horrors. Zorth shock troops, towering and fearsome, surged forward. "Stick to the plan," Alex shouted, rallying his team. They moved with purpose, their new weapons cutting through the Zorth ranks. Elena worked feverishly to neutralize the bioweapon Exalta had unleashed. Her team set up a mobile lab on the surface, analyzing samples and deploying countermeasures. "We can do this," she muttered, her determination unwavering despite the pressure. The ground team advanced, inching closer to the reactor. Each step was hard-fought, the Zorth defending their home with a ferocity born of desperation. Alex led from the front, his tactical mind constantly adjusting to the ebb and flow of battle. "Commander, we're nearing the reactor," a soldier reported. "But they're dug in deep." Alex scanned the battlefield, his eyes narrowing. "We don't have time for a prolonged fight. Kim, can you provide air support?" "On my way," David responded. Moments later, his squadron streaked overhead, their strafing runes disrupting the Zorth defenses and giving the ground team a much-needed breather. Inside the reactor complex, the team moved with caution. "Watch for traps," Alex warned, his voice low. They encountered fierce resistance, but their determination never wavered. Step by step, they fought their way to the reactor core. In the control room, Overlord Exalta watched the battle unfold with a mix of rage and disbelief. His invincible dominion was crumbling. He activated the bioweapon, a last-ditch effort to annihilate the invaders. Alarms blared as deadly spores began to spread. "Vasquez, status on the bioweapon?" Alex's voice crackled over the comm. "We're close," Elena replied, her hands steady despite the urgency. "Just a bit more time." Alex knew they had none. "Seal the room," he ordered, locking down the reactor core. "We finish this now." With the reactor core exposed, Alex and his team set the charges. "Ready?" he asked, his gaze meeting each of theirs. They nodded, steeling themselves for what was to come. Elena's voice came through the comm. "Bioweapon neutralized." "Do it now." "Detonate," Alex commanded. The charges exploded, and the reactor destabilized. The ground shook as the core went critical. "Fall back," Alex shouted, leading his team in a desperate race against the clock. "Dr. Vasquez, we're out of time." "Alex, we need to make a choice now." Commander Alex Marshall stood at the brink of the final battle. The coalition forces had breached the Zorth homeworld's defenses, but the bioweapon threat loomed. He glanced at Dr. Elena Vasquez, her face tense with urgency. The bioweapon containment was failing, and their only hope was a risky infiltration plan. "We're going in," Alex declared, his voice steady despite the chaos around them. "Elena, stay on comms and guide us." "Lieutenant Kim, you're with me." Lieutenant David Kim nodded, his determination matching Alex's. The duo, along with a small elite team, moved swiftly through the battered corridors of the Zorth Command Center. The air was thick with the smell of burning circuits and the sounds of distant battles. As they advanced, the enormity of their mission weighed heavily on Alex. The fate of the galaxy hinged on their success. Each step brought them closer to Overlord Exalta, the embodiment of the Zorth's tyrannical reign. Reaching the central chamber, they found it heavily fortified. "We need a distraction," Alex muttered, formulating a quick plan. "David, can you create some chaos?" "On it, Commander," Kim replied, setting charges along the corridor walls. Moments later, Explosions rocked the structure, drawing Zorth guards away from their posts. Seizing the opportunity, Alex and his team breached the chamber. Inside, the room pulsed with biotechnological interfaces, a stark contrast to the chaos outside. At the center stood Overlord Zoltar, flanked by elite guards. "You're too late, humans," Zoltar hissed, his eyes glowing with malice. "This bioweapon will end your pathetic resistance." "We'll see about that," Alex retorted, raising his weapon. A fierce firefight erupted, the confined space amplifying the intensity. Despite their technological prowess, the Zorth were unprepared for the ferocity of human resolve. Kim's sharpshooting skills came to the fore, picking off guards with precision. Alex, driven by the memory of his lost family, fought with a relentless vigor. The room filled with the sounds of energy blasts and the cries of fallen soldiers. As the battle raged, Dr. Vasquez's voice crackled over the comms. "Alex, you need to access the central console to deactivate the bioweapon. I'm sending you the bypass codes now. Cover me." Alex shouted to his team as he sprinted towards the console. Zoltar, realizing their intent, roared in fury and charged. Alex barely reached the console in time, dodging Zoltar's vicious strikes. "You're too late," Zoltar spat, his arrogance undiminished even in the face of defeat. But Alex was focused, his fingers flying over the controls as he input the codes. The bioweapon's countdown slowed, then halted. "No," Zoltar howled, lunging at Alex with deadly intent. Kim intercepted him, their struggle a deadly dance of strength and skill. In a final act of desperation, Zoltar unleashed a hidden blade, slashing at Kim's side. The lieutenant stumbled, but remained standing, defiant. Breathing heavily, Alex turned to Kim, who was clutching his wound. "You okay, Lieutenant?" "I'll live," Kim grinned weakly. "Let's finish this." They regrouped with their team and initiated the deactivation sequence. The bioweapon's energy dissipated, the immediate threat neutralized. A sense of relief washed over Alex, but he knew the fight wasn't over yet. Dr. Vasquez, bioweapon neutralized. "Status on the coalition?" Alex reported. "Still engaged on multiple fronts, but we're gaining ground." "Your signal has boosted morale across the battlefield," Elena responded, her voice filled with hope. "Good. Let's wrap this up," Alex commanded. They moved out, joining the coalition forces as they pushed through the last pockets of resistance. The Zorth, once invincible, crumbled under the united front of previously oppressed species. Enslaved worlds rose in rebellion, inspired by humanity's unyielding spirit and tactical brilliance. As the sun set on the Zorth homeworld, the coalition stood victorious. Alex surveyed the battlefield, a mixture of exhaustion and triumph in his eyes. They had done it. The Zorth dominion was no more. In the aftermath, leaders from the coalition gathered. Alex stood alongside them, representing humanity. "Today, we have not just won a battle, but forged a new beginning," he addressed the assembly. "Together, we will build a future where no species lives in fear."